Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for joining us. This is Daniel Estulin. Welcome to Estulin Media. Today, my guest is an old friend of mine. I had him on my show way back when I had my RT show, Desde la Sombra, in Moscow back in 2013 and 20. I think I had him on a couple of times. And then my show got canceled because the people who run RT are the oligarchs, liberal banking financiers. And sorry. And they didn't like my take. Okay, it wasn't liberal enough for it all. But anyway, my guest today, his name is Paul Glumas. He used to be in the Linda LaRouche movement, but since he has become involved in grassroots politics in Washington state supporting Donald Trump, we're going to talk about what grassroots. It's a very unique American phenomenon. And in 2022, Paul ran for the U.S. Congress as a Republican. So I invited Paul because I think he has unique insight into the progress of MAGA politics, Make America Great Again, as unique insight into how the leftist fascist state operates on the ground, and someone who's on the ground directly involved in the day-to-day battles. Paul, thanks so much for joining us.
Okay, thank you. So
let me ask you. Let's start with it. Let me ask you. You're involved with Trump. What must Trump do to win in 2024?
What must Trump do to win in 2024? I can't answer that. I can't answer that.
Let me give you my take on it.
Okay.
I think to win, Trump must kick over the elite Washington's devil's chessboard completely. There's no money to realize infrastructure progress, which could actually create jobs and restart the economy under the prevailing banking and budgetary axioms. And I think moreover, the powder keg, which is the Wall Street London bubble economy, I think it will explode in any moment. And then, of course, we have the Glass-Steagall must be in place before that happens. And at the same time, if we go back, we'll look at the Bushes, the Obama leftovers, together with London and London's NATO's allies. They remain on the war course with Russia. We're seeing it right now.
So my take is different. Okay.
How do you see it?
A little bit different from what you're saying. So you have an establishment, and the establishment is a lot of the establishment is not necessarily in agreement with the direction of things. They see the collapse, they see the crisis, and what have you, but they are fearful of breaking with the establishment. So this is very Machiavellian. This is in The Prince and the Discourses. That element of the establishment will break at the last moment when it looks like everything's going to go to hell. The point about Donald Trump, he has to prepare for that break. That's my view. He has to prepare for that break and give them a path to durable survival. I mean, that's that. So he can't just go to overthrow the system. He has to, yes, overthrow the system, but you have to fracture. Maybe we're saying the same things. He has to fracture. The system has to fracture, but there has to be a viable path for elements of that establishment to reconfigure in a different mode. So this is a very complicated thing, and it's all dependent on a lot of different factors. It's hundreds of factors, but that's a Machiavellian viewpoint of how these things change. And at the top, the British intelligence, the Crown, the London-based finance, that's what they're really freaked out about. In my view, they're freaked out about a possibility of an entire sections of the establishment going over to Donald Trump. And the more popular he becomes, and the more people are out in the streets, the more people but it can't be a populist uprising. It can't be a rebellion, and it's not. The MAGA movement is not a rebellion. It is not a popular populist movement. It's a re involvement of individuals in the political process. So that's my take.
Let me ask you about, you mentioned, again, I'm very interested in the grassroots movements because not many people are talking about this. So let's, again, because our audience is in 42 countries, okay, in 5 continents, Europe and Asia and Latin America, North America and Southeast Asia, etc. So to them, the idea of grassroots may not make a lot of sense, but the term itself, the term grassroots, is used a lot to describe political formation in the United States. So can you explain to us,
Okay.
what is it all about? How does it work?
So the grassroots is a definition of individuals. It's an organic term. It's a term of default because they don't have any other word to describe what's going on. So what's happened is an awakening, and the people who are in the grassroots have been called, almost like a spiritual experience, not anger or rage or anything like that, but a spiritual experience. And the best way to describe it is the most critical moment in the formation of the grassroots, in my view, was the night of the election of 2020, when people were up in front of their televisions and screens and saw that the swing states, the voting stopped, the counting stopped, excuse me, and it was unexplainable. And then there was a different outcome that seemed obvious. And this is, to me, this was as big a shock as 9/11 or anything else. What it did is it forced people to have to look inside themselves and ask themselves, not only what the hell is going on, but who am I and what am I doing about it? And so coming out of that, there was a massive outpouring of people wanting to become active, wanting to know what to do, wanting to understand what's going on. It's very different when you're an observer of events than how do I change it? How do I make it better? How do I do whatever? And that's the kind of, and it's an individual thing. It's not a mass thing. It's not a mass thing. So all of a sudden you had thousands and thousands and thousands of people like that who don't really understand much yet. But they are now in the process of trying to figure it out. And then you have the established political structure from the top to the bottom, which is, the political parties, especially the Republican Party, because that was the one that was potentially open for invasion by the grassroots. And then they're looking at these people as completely, altruistic, no ambition. They don't care about becoming elected. They don't care about anything. They want to save the country. And none of this normal concerns that the political establishment, that people in politics up to that time operate from. And this is like a different species. And it's a very interesting process. And I came into this. I was active with LaRouche. I was active with LaRouche, but I was also penetrated into the Democratic Party of the FDR variety, and I saw the changes in the Democratic Party. And after Trump won the first election, I left the Democratic Party, and then I became active with some of these people that were very open to discussion and development and wanted to understand how the world worked. I mean, it was an incredible experience for me. So a small group of grassroots in 2019 that I got involved with. Then in 2020, I submitted my name as a candidate for a precinct committee officer in the Republican Party, and I got into the Republican Party. But I wasn't really in tune with the leadership at that time. But after the 2020 election steal, then this explosion, and I was in a position to actually help to educate a lot of these grassroots people. Now, I can tell you right now some incredible things. People who had, like, a grandmother of 22, a Christian, never done anything political. She's now emerging as a leader in a section of Washington State. Another lady who was triggered, who was triggered differently. She was triggered by the COVID situation and the masks, and she couldn't take it. So she didn't know what to do, and she's in the middle of Seattle. So she got a sign, a protest sign, just a protest sign to go around. And over time, she gathered an entire movement of people. And after that political situation changed, she ran for city council, and she's now running for state legislature, and she's a leader in the party.
So let me ask you this. I want to ask you a follow-up question about the MAGA movement itself, because again, for a lot of people outside of the United States,
that is the MAGA movement. That's what it is. It's Make America Great Again, but it's not, and it's using Trump as a point of reference. It's not that they're like, oh my God, Trump is the greatest thing in the world, but he's a point of reference. He represents the potential of defeating the oligarchy, of defeating the globalists. It's not because he can do no wrong, and it's understood that he can't do it alone. There's no way he could do it alone. You have to have involved people at every level.
But let me just interject for a second, Paul. I just want to let our audiences know that a lot of this content we have on my channel, unfortunately, we cannot put it up on YouTube or any of the other social media because we'd lose our channel. We'd lose a channel because they do not want Trump as president of the United States. They do not want an alternative point of view that they cannot control. They want the same dialectic, okay, that they can control both sides of the equation. And that's why we have what we do. Okay, so if you want to see these amazing interviews with amazing experts in different fields, politics, economy, etc., okay, history, geography, psychology, join us, Estulin.media, sign up so you can see this amazing content.